Hi, Buck here from Buck Dodson Coaching, your personal growth expert for gay men, for women, for creatives, and entrepreneurs. So today I want to talk about conflict and not how to have more of it, because I think you're probably good at that, like I am, but how to resolve conflict. I'm recording this today, and there's so much conflict happening in the world. Anywhere I turn on the news, social media, I just see so much conflict and so many battles being waged and wars being fought on every level. And of course, underneath all of that, I can just feel the anger, the rage, the sadness, the fear. And I know all of that I feel in me too, and I'm sure you do too. And if you're like me, you might also feel a sense of powerlessness or maybe helplessness, or sometimes even a sense of despair, like, will this ever get resolved? Will these conflicts ever get better? And I don't know the answer to that, of course, but I hope that through continuing to learn about each other and continuing to maybe lean in a little more to the cycle of conflict, that we can learn how to resolve it. And one of the ways that I find that is really useful in learning to resolve conflict on a broad scale is to look at how we resolve our own conflicts. The conflicts that we have inside of us, inside of our hearts, and the conflicts that we have, with the people that we, see every day. So the people in our own homes, our spouses, our boyfriends, girlfriends, mothers, fathers, sisters, our best friends, and even our colleagues. We can learn a lot about how to resolve conflict that's out there by looking at the conflict that is in here. So that's what this video is all about. So do you ever have the conflicts that are what we would call in the personal growth biz gridlock issues? They're like gridlock arguments that you come around to like over and over, and they're always about the same thing, or seem to be, and they're just arguments that you have that are like exhausting, and just you get into blaming and shaming and name calling, and it just feels like there's no resolution, and you just end up exhausted and furious, and just like, oh, I can't do this, I can't have this same fight again. Well, that's what I want to talk about today. Those gridlock arguments actually do have a way to resolution, and there are just some tips that you can follow to begin to resolve those. Now, these tips aren't easy necessarily to put into practice, but they are helpful to repair once there has been a rupture. And that's some more personal growth biz jargon, if you will, for how to resolve conflict. So there's always a rupture, and then there's a repair. But so often we get stuck in the rupture. We know how to fight, we know how to argue, we know how to hurt each other, but we don't know how to then heal each other. We don't know how to do the repair part. The repair part is actually probably the more vulnerable part, and that's, I think, where we get tricked up. So if you ever get into those kinds of conflicts and arguments and fights with your loved ones in your own home, with the people sitting across from you in your living room right now, this video is for you. So 4 things that you can begin to do to get into that repair zone after you've had a rupture. 1, stop the blame game. And you do that by first naming the blame game. So you have to identify, oh, we're here, we're having one of those arguments. And you'll know you're having one of those arguments because you're going to be saying, you're right and I'm wrong, and it's the, I versus, you, and it's just kind of this like tossing the ball back and forth, of who's at fault, who's to blame, and that is going to go nowhere fast, and you know that. So the first thing you have to do is to acknowledge that's happening and commit to stopping it. So literally you can say, okay, we're here, we're having that kind of conflict again, we're in the same place, let's pause and pivot. So that's the first move. The second move is to acknowledge that you are a player in the game too. So kind of related to the blame game, well, it is a form of the blame game. We tend to focus when we're kind of in the heat of arguments, when we're angry or whatever the emotion is, we focus on what the other person should be changing about themselves. So we call that partner change. So we focus on what you need to be doing different, what you need to be doing better, because I am completely in the right, and I don't have any contribution to this argument. And that's never the case when it comes to our interpersonal relationships. So what you can do is begin to just say, okay, I am making some moves. I'm a player here too. I'm a player in this game. So something like, I can see this started when I got really angry and started to accuse you. What do you see happened? And then the other person can say, well, I can see that I got defensive and started to armor up and check out. And then from there, you both have more skin in the game, you're both a little bit more defensive, and you both have something that you can own rather than focusing on the other person, which you have no control over. You might wish you did, but you don't. So owning your own move and saying, okay, this is what I did, and the other person says, this is what I did, then you've got some leverage. So the third move to make is all about your feelings. I know the dreaded F word. So some of us got training in how to deal with our feelings when we were kids, how to identify when we're mad or sad and what to do with them, but most of us didn't. So when we get into relationships, we have to learn how to kind of check in with ourselves and say, oh, wait a second, I'm feeling really angry here. This is my emotion, this is my feeling. And yes, it's happening in the context of this fight and this argument, but the feeling is happening inside of me. So I need to own that, and I need to share that with this person that I'm having the argument about. So saying, hey, I'm really hurt right now, or I'm really afraid right now, or gosh, I'm just really sad, or I'm really angry. Saying your feelings, honoring those, both kind of helps you to validate your own feelings, but it helps the other person to bring a sense of empathy online for you. So you're not attacking them, you're not, trying to get them to change, you are actually sort of inviting them to see, you in a different way and see that, oh, this person is having some feelings, some emotions, and we're really wired to lean into feelings. It's like when we see someone bleeding, we kind of go to them instinctually. Well, it's the same thing as when we hear and feel our loved ones having a feeling. If you notice when someone cries, it's like, oh, I don't want you to cry, because we sort of naturally go to feelings. But so often we're trying to avoid our feelings and kind of stay in our heads, and we're yelling and all that stuff, and that's not helpful. So owning your feelings, saying what they are, sharing them with the other person is really useful. And the fourth and final step in this process is to be curious about the other person's feelings. So once you've identified your own feelings, you can begin to be curious about their feelings. And everybody is having feelings, and they're going to be different from yours. So even though you may not agree with their feelings or understand why they might be feeling what they're feeling, you can acknowledge them as a fellow human that okay, they're having feelings too, just like I am. So be curious about them, get curious about, what is you're mad about, what is you're sad about, and that will go a long way to helping you empathize with them and helping you get sort of past that surface conflict and that hurt into, oh, actually, I want to repair this. I want to be closer to you again, and being curious about the other person's feelings as well as your own is a real game changer when it comes to that. So try out those four things. So name and stop the blame game, acknowledge that you're a player in the game too, and take responsibility for the moves you're making, identify your feelings and share those with the other person, and then get curious about the other person's feelings and begin to empathize with those. If you can do those things, you will begin to be in the repair zone and kind of out of that gridlock, conflict, injuring, wounding place, which is so painful. So give those a try the next time you get into a situation in one of those conflicts, and let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And then of course, if you like this video and this was helpful to you, definitely subscribe to hear from me in the future about all things relationships, but also personal growth and even professional growth. So thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.